Lancelot. Berserker, Berserker, is the Berserker-class servant of Korea Matu during the Fourth Grail War in Fate/Zero. He is one of the servants of the protagonist of the conflicts in Fate/GRA Order. The Berserker's real name is Sir Lancelot Esserancherato, also known as the Knight of the Lake, Mizumi no Kishi. The person who serves as a negative symbol of the legend of King Arthur. The Knight of the Lake, admired as the strongest, even among the Knights of the Round Table. He was extremely loyal to King Arthur as one of the Knights of the Round Table. Lancelot's downfall began when he fell in love with the Queen of Artoria, Guinevere. The tragic love story of Diarmuid Ua Duibni and Grain is said to later become the model story for Guinevere and Lancelot. He was born and raised in France. Having lost his parents as a child, he was raised by the lake fairy Nimue and thus gained the alias, Knight of the Lake. He had rumors of the King of Great Britain. He thought the King of Knights in Britain was pure nonsense. He began to compare himself to the King of Knights who decided to travel to Britain to see the legendary king with his own eyes. Identity. Also known as the Knight of the Lake, Mizumi no Kishi, the person serving as a negative symbol of the Arthurian legend. The Knight of the Lake, admired as the strongest even among the Knights of the Round Table. He was extremely loyal to King Arthur as one of the Knights of the Round Table. Lancelot's downfall began when he fell in love with Artoria's queen, Guinevere. It is said that the tragic love story of Diarmuid Ua Duibni and Grain later became the story model of Guinevere and Lancelot. Life. He was originally born and raised in France. Having lost his parents as a child, he was raised by the Lady of the Lake Vivian and thus gained the alias, Knight of the Lake. He had heard rumors of the King of Britain. He believed the King of Knights in Britain was pure nonsense. He began to compare himself with the King of Knights until he decided to travel to Britain to see the legendary king with his own eyes. He met the king as soon as he landed in Britain in the midst of battle. It carved a deep impression of the king when he saw the sight of a young boy riding on his horse, gallantly swinging her sword in a horde of invaders. It proved how wrong he was. The requirement to battle day and night was not physical attributes but it was one who holds unwavering convictions. Lancelot had fought together with the king in that battle, and for his accomplishments he was granted the honor of speaking with her as a friend and invited to Camelot as a guest. Before long, he began desiring a seat on the Round Table. He became a knight among the Round Table and saw many battles. He had many famous exploits, including once hiding his name and disguising himself to enter a horse race for the sake of a friend's honor. Even after falling into a trap and being forced to face the enemy's blades with only his bare hands, he had proved victorious with his skilled fighting prowess using only an elm branch. Downfall. When Sir Tristan left the castle saying King Arthur does not understand how others feel. It was those words that began to trigger his insanity. Sir Lancelot wishes to lessen the burden for his king, a wish that Guinevere also held. They conversed with each other and came to recognize each other as friends and rely on the other. It was then that Sir Lancelot became attracted to her. He learnt the king's secret from her. Though the king was actually a woman, she had married in order to maintain the pretense that she was a man and the image of a stable royal family. Guinevere, in turn, willingly sacrificed her own life as a woman in order to preserve this ideal government. When Lancelot and the queen began their affair, the Knight of the Lake considered fleeing Camelot with her, but his loyalty to Artoria and his sense of duty prevented him from doing so. When political enemies of the king learned about the affair, Agravain, who was working for Morgan Le Fay, exposed the adulterous relationship to the public. The queen was ordered to be executed. Lancelot attempted to save her, killing several of his fellow knights including Gawain's siblings, Gareth and Gaheris, in the process. He fled back to his own domain. Lancelot, who was considered the perfect knight, Guinevere, the queen who had made her beloved betray his duty, and Artoria, the king who blamed herself for her loyal knight's despair, all suffered from the resulting fallout. Although Artoria forgave Lancelot's actions, Gawain still bore great hatred towards Lancelot for his betrayal and the death of his brothers. His disloyalty fractured the balance among the Knights of the Round Table. This incident eventually became the trigger of civil war and carnage, and the country shattered to pieces in the flames of war. Lancelot, even after being excommunicated, wanted to participate in the Battle of Camlan WP to serve his king but Gawain hostilely rejected him, which helped result in the downfall of his king and country. When Lancelot heard the news of his king's death, Lancelot sank in despair and escaped through madness. Thus, when he became a heroic spirit, he was summoned as the insane Berserker. Appearance. Berserker is a robust man fully clad in pitch-black armor and a rustic helmet with a thinly carved slit displaying the ghastly glow of his eyes. The armor is the work of the delicate and nuanced workmanship of its smith's utmost effort, succeeding in granting it an air of formidability and a fine construction. It is a perfect armor that can be called neither exquisite nor crude, and it instead perfectly melds magnificence and functionality. It is carved with countless marks and scratches, the highlights of his various military exploits etched into it to add a touch of valor. It is an ideal battle outfit that all knights could not help but envy. During life, he was an ideal incarnation embodying the true face of a knight. Having lost his distinguished dignity of the past, he has been thoroughly changed by his descent into madness. Mad enhancement and his anger have corroded him into his pitch-black form. He has a blackened face, the visage of a living dead man who has lost everything to a curse. He had a beautiful visage capable of drawing the admiration of many women, but his hatred has made him gaunt and pallid like a phantom. The only part of him filled with light is his eyes that are filled with hatred. He retains his normal appearance while not under the effects of mad enhancement. Due to for someone's glory, the identifying marks of his armor are hidden, only revealing the fact that he is fully clad in armor without any opening. It shows no ornaments or polished luster like that of Saber or Gilgamesh. Blurring the characteristic features and clues on the lineage of the maker, it makes him look like a shadow, a bottomless black darkness like hell. Once the ability is removed, the armor is easily identified as that of Lancelot. He lacks the radiance of heroic spirits, that shine, that is the expression of their pride. There is no sign of the honor of his legend, the essential element of noble phantasms. This makes him closer to assassin in nature, holding a negative surge like a vengeful spirit rather than a heroic spirit. Personality. As Berserker, his mind is under the effects of mad enhancement, limiting his rationality and ability to think. He gives off nothing but murderous intent and a thirst for blood, his deep hatred radiating out from him enough that he can easily be sensed even when he is hidden. He is able to battle with finesse due to his martial prowess, and he shows the ability to recognize that Lancer has been ordered to help him and take him as an ally for a short time. He still recognizes his king, instantly becoming hostile towards her and foregoing any orders in order to fight her. He growls parts of her name, a moan full of malice hardly resembling human speech. Lancelot was known to have extreme loyalty to his king during life as one of the people she considered to be a friend. She believes, even after their armies had clashed, that their hearts should still be the same, as a subject upholding the way of the knight and a king upholding the way of the knight. Saber is shocked in his ability to manifest as Berserker, that he who was the subject of people's admiration could be reduced to that state. She cannot help but think their eternal partnership was nothing but a naive fantasy onto which she had clung upon seeing him in that state. In one sense, he can be said to be a victim of Saber's righteousness. Saber believes the root of it to stem from her hiding her gender. Seeking punishment for his actions, he was forgiven by the one person who he desired it from the most. The wretchedness he felt from that simple act was overwhelming for him. His guilt weighed down on him the more he adored his king, so his only salvation became to personally bring about her downfall. The atrocities he committed were of an insane and irritable young man, but ultimately driven by his overwhelming love for his king. He hated that she could remain an ideal king even after learning about the affair, and lamented how his king sacrificed herself for the sake of her country. Abilities. Lancelot was born with numerous abilities and aptitudes that took him beyond the realm of high-spec right into completely overpowered. The Knight of the Lake earned a huge reputation thanks to the great deeds he committed when he was alive, such as when he fought Gawain while empowered by the sun for several hours until wounding him at nightfall. Due to this, Lancelot is famed as the strongest of the Knights of the Round Table and as Gawain's equal. As a heroic spirit, his most fitting class in terms of character is Saber, as it encapsulates the noble knight he was in life, although he feels it is ironic for him to be a Saber, as he doesn't consider himself a noble knight due to his perceived participation in the destruction of Britain. However, as he often fell into madness due to troubles involving Guinevere, he has a particular compatibility with the Berserker class, which is also the class he believes is most appropriate for himself. As a Berserker, his raw power is increased thanks to mad enhancement, which boosts his parameters by 1 rank in all stats besides luck and magical energy. In this form, Lancelot has an outrageous magical energy consumption which places a great strain on Korea Matto to provide upkeep. While being of a normal class would have been better for Korea, his increased parameters from being maddened are the only reason he is able to fight Gilgamesh as well as he manages. Although Lancelot was a powerful enemy against all other teams fighting in the Fourth Holy Grail War, Diarmuid would have an advantage against him due to compatibility. Constantly under the effects of mad enhancement, he is difficult to control in battle. While he will follow Korea's general orders of targeting Gilgamesh, he will easily ignore them if he has another target he wishes to attack. Due to his connection with Saber, he immediately attacks her at any available point, and the only way to completely stop him is with a command spell. He uses a great deal of magical energy every time he acts, and combined with Korea's fragile state of health, he brings his master closer to death with each battle. He is used to the full extent of Saber's abilities, so he is able to utilize accurate and prudent battle tactics. He hunts her by continually giving chase without allowing her to retaliate so as to slowly strangle her. He remembers her sword, allowing him to predict the path of it even while it is sheathed in invisible air. He knows every detail from its shape to its length like the back of his hand. Powers and status. Powers and abilities: superhuman physical traits, weapon master, magic defense, hallucination, identity concealment, mental defense. Dimensionality: 3D. Attack: building, but it is variable depending on the weapon used, capable of turning objects into weapons, able to fight the invisible air of Saber, as well as being able to control missiles. City: Verondite is a weapon equivalent to Excalibur, which can destroy any stronghold, which is also superior to Calidbal, who was able to destroy 3 hilltops. Speed: subsonic plus movement, supersonic/hypersonic reaction and attacks. Lancelot could dodge and react by attacking Gilgamesh's blows that surpass jets in speed, as well as Archer having a much lower speed than Lancelot was already able to react to Gibalg, who travels at Mach 2. Defense: great building, maybe higher. Lancelot has the same toughness rating as Heracles, who was able to easily withstand Calidbal, which can destroy 3 hilltops as well as destroying an entire graveyard. Punch strength: MJ class, A being in Fate with serrated strength is already superhuman level, and Lancelot has A strength at his peak and proves to be superior to Artoria. Lifting force: class 1 minimum, possible class 5. Stamina: extremely high. He was able to defeat countless opponents with his bare hands. Due to this, his noble phantasm allows him to use any kind of thing as a weapon. Intelligence: considered the perfect knight, the strongest, the smartest, the one who best fits the true sense of knight in an entire era. Lancelot is a master of battles, being superior even to King Arthur, being able to even fight Gilgamesh. However, he loses his control completely in his Berserker form. Weaknesses: his feelings for Givanir and Artoria make him completely lose control over himself, as does his madness. Notable attacks and equipment. For someone's glory, Anoga Eiko no tamed and Akufo Samawanzu Gururi, is a black mist, the tradition of the fame and glory of Lancelot's victory while disguising himself in a number of his efforts, such as when he hid his name and disguised himself to enter a horse race for the sake of his friend's honor. Combined with his armor, which completely covers his body, this hidden ability of Berserker's personal identity and status. His body is shrouded in a black mist with properties similar to invisible air that constantly changes its outline like an out-of-focus photograph that obscures the armor's most demanding features. Even if he removes his helmet, it will be impossible to make out his face. The mist illusion causes his image to appear to randomly double or triple, making him appear to be a hallucination, and prevents the use of Master's clairvoyance to read Berserker's state. The only visible information on official materials is the GM's name, height, weight, alignment, class abilities, and normal abilities. His real name, gender, marital status, and noble ghosts are out of focus and unable to be clearly seen. Knight of Honor: the knight doesn't die empty hands. Kishi Watashi Knight Shishizanedo Obu Ona, incident where Lancelot was forced to fight his platoon unarmed and proved his fighting prowess by claiming victory with an elm branch. Rather than an open weapon, it manifests as a unique ability retained by his body. Once Berserker grabs anything that can even remotely be conceptualized as a weapon by his own recognition with his gloves, and he recognizes that he desires to wield it, he instantly gains the property of becoming his noble phantasm. Can only be activated for objects recognized as, this is a weapon, so he could use a steel chair if he happened to be skilled in wrestling. He cannot utilize an aircraft carrier as his weapon transport role it is higher than as a weapon, making it not count as such to him. The ability is completely sealed along with someone's glory once Arondite is pulled by Berserker. Arondite, the unalterable light of the lake, Mukanaru Kokoarandato, is a holy sword wielded by Lancelot, who is the counterpart of King Arthur's Excalibur. It has a similar design to Excalibur, carved with fairies to show that it was a divine build not forged by mortal hands. It is an unlimited sword capable of taking any attack without taking damage that glows much like lake water. It was given only to one who could be extolled as the perfect knight, the strongest, bravest and truest knight of an age, which means Lancelot incomparable of all who sat at the round table of Camelot. The sword lost its status as a holy sword after Lancelot used it to kill several of his fellow knights who were acting as guards for Guinevere's execution. His magical energy, filled with his madness and resentment, dyed the sword pitch black and made him fall into the state of a demonic sword of a mad warrior. It is the true noble ghost of Lancelot, which seals for one's glory once it is drawn. He increases all of his parameters by 1 rank and the success rate of saving throws is doubled. Due to the legend in which Lancelot slew a dragon, Arondite deals additional damage to heroic spirits like Saber that have a dragon attribute. Skills. Mad Enhancement, C rank up for all parameters except luck and mana, but in exchange, Berserker can no longer think and speak properly. Magic Resistance, E rank possesses an amulet ring that rejects magical energy with a magic resistance value of D rank, but it is ranked down due to Mad Enhancement. Protection of the Spirits, a rank of blessing from elementals, the capacity to increase one's luck in dangerous situations. Activation is limited to battlefields, where it is possible to perform feats of arms. Eternal Arms Mastery, A+ rank mastership of combat arts has reached the point of being said to be unrivaled in one's era. By complete the merging of mind, body, and technique, it is possible to make use of full fighting skills even when under the influence of any sort of mental hindrance. Though he attacks ferociously like a beast, befitting his class, all his attacks are accurate and precise enough to push even the strongest servants back, and he can perform seemingly impossible maneuvers normally requiring complex thought purely on instinct, surprising onlookers due to his nature as a mad warrior. Noble Phantasms. For someone's glory. While his armor has many defining marks that easily show his identity, he remains unidentified thanks to this noble phantasm, a black fog that engulfs him to prevent others from discerning his identity by obscuring his figure and keeping enemy masters from reading his abilities. The true nature of the ability would allow him to disguise himself as other heroic spirits, but the only way to use it as Berserker is to force him with a command spell. Knight of Honor. An ability noble phantasm that implements the attributes of one's own noble phantasm to anything he puts his hands on. No matter what armament, no matter what kind of weapon becomes a pseudo-D rank noble phantasm. He displays subtle and flawless technique, showing grandeur in using unfamiliar noble phantasms in repeated offensive and defensive maneuvers. Noble phantasm are meant to be weapons for the exclusive usage of their owners, so another heroic spirit taking hold of one should not be able to wield it correctly. Knight of Honor allows him to easily wield Gilgamesh's weapons from the Gate of Babylon, and he is able to advance against his opponent without being forced back a single step or being damaged in any way. Arondite. Lancelot's true noble phantasm, a divine construct, and counterpart of Excalibur. In exchange for sealing for someone's glory and Knight of Honor, all of his parameters are increased by 1 rank and deals extra damage against dragon attribute heroic spirits such as Artoria. It allows him to unleash his true ability, showing skill with the sword completely incomparable to his previous level. While Saber is easily pushed back due to her having become unable to fight properly due to having an inner conflict for fighting her former friend, even her being able to fight against him normally may not be able to withstand the strong momentum behind his strikes. It multiplies his magical energy upkeep many times, finally reaching the limit of Korea's crest worms and taking several hours worth of backup magical energy in 10 seconds from his last charge.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.